Okay, this is Grandma Rodick. She goes by Linda also. Grandma, what are we making today?
We're going to make lasagna from scratch.
And how many people are we going to be serving?
10 or 12.
And then we're also going to make
an extra one to put in the freezer.
Right, which is great for having leftovers later.
So I've got her started browning the ground beef, and we've already chopped up the onions, and we're going to get the mushrooms ready, and we're good to go. I'm trying something new this time. I bought the oven-ready lasagna noodles that you don't have to cook beforehand. I'm keeping my fingers crossed because I certainly would hate for this to be a disaster at the end. We'll let you know how that turns out.
Here we go. Okay guys, so here we are browning this hamburger. It's about 5 pounds of beef, and it has taken up this entire pan. So we'll see how it ends up. Struggling a little bit, but we've got it. I think we're gonna make it work. So here we go. So the beef is now browned. So we're gonna go ahead and start adding in the sauce. We have our onions already chopped over here. And then we also have, oh, that's from breakfast. We have some tomato sauce, and then we're actually gonna add a little bit of sugar. So you'll see. And then Grandma is adding some extra spices over here, so we'll keep you along for the ride. So here we have Alec. He's chopping some mushrooms. We're gonna add those to the sauce. So we're also, we have the onions in here sauteing, and then when we're done chopping the mushrooms, we're gonna go ahead and add the mushrooms to this pan. In case anyone was wondering, these are Dreamform. They're really great. They sit up off the counter. I use the same one to do the
Next is the pasta sauce. Now I use inexpensive pasta sauce wherever I find it on sale because I always add my own spices to it. So it seems like it's from scratch, but it doesn't take nearly as long. This time I'm using 4 cans of pasta sauce, the 1 pound 8 ounce size, because I'm going to make 2 lasagnas, 2 pans of lasagnas, because I'm going to freeze one and then have one for today. So the spices I like to add are cayenne pepper, Italian seasoning, salt, pepper, and garlic powder. And I top it off with some sugar to sweeten it a little bit. So what I do is I add, and I wrote this down for you to make it easier so that I'm going to give you the ingredients of all these things that per can. So I used 1/8 of a teaspoon of garlic powder per can, 1/8 of a teaspoon of cayenne pepper per can, and that's to taste because some people don't like it very spicy, so you can lower that if you want. 1/2 teaspoon of salt per can, 1/4 of a teaspoon of pepper per can, 1/2 teaspoon of Italian seasoning per can, and 1/4 of a cup of sugar per can. Then I mix it all up and add it to the hamburger mixture with the onions and the mushrooms. Those things.
So now we have our onions and mushrooms sauteed, so we're gonna get ready and dump this in to add it to the hamburger, and then eventually we're gonna pour in the sauce.
I'm going to put the lasagna together. And the first thing you do is use a pan 13 by 9 inch usually, unless you have a large crowd of people. And I sprayed it with ham or any other kind of spray like that. This is the sauce that we put all the spices in. And instead of adding it to the hamburger mixture, I'm doing it like this because we ran out of room in the other pan. So what I do is just put a little bit of it, a thin layer of it in the bottom so that your lasagna doesn't burn on the bottom. You put your noodles down, and like I said, these are the oven-ready noodles. Keeping my fingers crossed, I hope this works. And I like to add my hamburger mixture first. A thin layer. It's got the onions and mushrooms. If you like green pepper, add it to your mushrooms and onions when you cook them. It just adds another level of flavor to your lasagna. I got the first thin layer of sauce, the noodles. I did the hamburger with the mushrooms and onions in it. And now I'm going to do cheese. Now, everyone has their own preference for cheese. I like to use a Mexican blend, mozzarella, and cottage cheese. But like I said, everyone has their own choices. So you choose whatever you like. And I try to do a thin layer of each. But remember, the cheese is what makes it amazing. So be generous with your cheese. Now, some people like to use ricotta instead of cottage cheese. And if I use ricotta, I always add an egg to it and whip it in. But today I'm using cottage cheese because my store didn't have ricotta. Cottage cheese tends to make it a little runnier, but I figured since I'm using these oven-ready noodles that I needed the extra moisture anyway, so I don't think it's going to be a problem. I think it's going to all balance out. I've got all the 3 cheeses on there now, and you see that it looks like this. And now I'm going to be generous with the sauce because, like I said, I'm using those oven-ready noodles, and it says to add extra moisture to your recipe, so we're going to make sure we use a lot of sauce. The sauce layers on there, I was pretty generous with the sauce. And now I'm adding lasagna noodles again. And what I'm going to do this time is to cut one off and put it on the end like that. Okay? And then you would just start over again. You add your meat, all your cheeses, your sauce, and this pan is shallow enough that I think we're only going to be able to do this many layers. So when I finish getting the cheese and the sauce on, I'll sprinkle a little more cheese over the top. Now this is what I'm going to freeze. So I'll put plastic wrap over it, then I'll cover it with aluminum foil, and then I put a piece of tape on the top to remind myself, take the plastic wrap off before you put it in the oven because it'll ruin your lasagna. And I always put on there what it is. It's lasagna at 350 for an hour in the oven. That's it.
Okay, so we don't have any French bread or garlic bread to serve with our lasagna, so Grandma decided to make breadsticks out of our crescent dough sheets. So we'll see how this turns out. We'll let you know. But I have high hopes, not gonna lie. Grandma, what do you think?
We'll see. We may have to do a little alterating when we get done here for the next one, but
delicious.
All right, Grandpa, what do you think?
I think it's the most wonderful meal I've ever had.
Dad, what do you think?
It's Insta-great.
Insta-great.
The
Wow.
bread is best. It's gramtastic.
Oh, wow,
Crispy
that's
bread.
so great.